welcome back to another episode of Author Interviews with Jazz and Prose. I am your host, Sai, and today we're here with the lovely Rebekah Christie, and she's going to be telling us about a bunch of her books here today, and then she also has a work in progress that we're going to talk a little bit about as well. So, Ms. Christie, how are you doing today?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. You know, I tell everybody I'm a teacher. We go back Monday, so I'm winding down, trying to soak in the last couple of days before we're
As you
back.
should. As you should.
Yeah. So, okay. So everyone knows I love to start with covers. Okay. So you have a couple here. So go ahead and tell us about how you choose the covers for your books.
So for these, I actually designed all the covers myself. That was not easy, especially for some of them, especially as a new author trying to figure out the different systems and like self-publishing and whatnot, the different systems that they have. But I designed all of them, and honestly, it was usually a reflection of the book and usually what was going on in my life.
Yeah.
And I tried to make them as colorful as possible because who doesn't like a nice, colorful, pretty book?
Yeah. Okay, and I love that. And yes, they are colorful. One of the reasons, guys, why I start with the covers is because I really do believe that people judge books on their covers. So I always love to hear the mindset behind creating the books. Okay. So Rebekah, tell us a little bit about yourself. And by the way, where are you located?
So I'm actually from Canada.
Okay.
I know most people know Toronto, so I'm about like an hour away from Toronto. I was born in Toronto, but I currently reside like an hour away. So I'm a Canadian author.
Okay, good. We have a few Canadian authors that have visited, so I'm like, oh my God. And then I also have family that lives there. I was just there and I couldn't believe how hot it was. I was like, why is it so hot?
Yeah, it's hot. It's humid.
Yeah.
Like it's humid.
Yes. Okay, so go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you started to write.
Okay, so my name is Rebekah, and I feel like ever since I was a child, I had a very vivid imagination. So that's kind of what led me to writing. It started with short stories, and then I branched out into poetry and whatnot. And for the poetry, it really was the best way for me to express myself and express my thoughts and feelings as I got older. So I've always walked with a notebook or something because I've always had my bright and big ideas, and I've always wanted to write them down and share them with the world.
Hey, I love that. Yep. And you guys know, like, when we do these interviews, usually when our authors answer this, they all say, well, in childhood, imagination. And imagination is a really big part, I think, for some writers, because I don't think writing has like a one size fits all kind of thing, but definitely imagination. Do you think so? You carrying your notebooks around as a little girl, do you think it requires, because your books are what, poetry?
Yes.
Do you feel like you are more in tune with yourself as a poetry writer? Like, do you think it requires a level of knowing yourself?
I think so. Like, I feel like, especially from when I started taking poetry more seriously, I was like late teens, early 20s. And I feel like, at that age, being a young Black girl, there's a lot. And it's you against the world, it feels like. So there's a lot of like accountability I feel that comes with it, because you have to know yourself and know your truth before you can kind of share it with the world. So I think it does take that level of kind of knowing yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the self-awareness. And then, I used to keep journals as well, from childhood, even to now. And I always like to go back and like read them. And I'm just like, oh my God. When
Yeah.
I go back and look, and I'm like, really? But yeah, so I love that. So you're starting a different genre now, because you were doing poetry, and now you say you're going to be moving into novel writing.
Yes. So Over the
Mhm.
years, I was actually going through my Google Drive the other day, and from the amount of books that are like in my graveyard, that I'm just like, oh my goodness, like I should like continue it. So I kind of had this idea, and I was like, this is gonna be my debut novel. Like it's the one that's really sticking, and I
Mhm.
disciplined myself to, actually stick to it and continue to write it. So
Yeah.
hopefully
Yeah.
2026 it will be on a shelf near you.
Yes, we love that. We're definitely going to be tuned in for that. And I think that was important that you said the one that sticks. I was literally listening to a Stephen King, YouTube video, and he was like, the idea that stays, like that keeps popping up, that's the one that usually you're gonna go with, because all the other ones, because as writers, I feel like we have so many topics that we could write about. And it's,
Right.
which one am I going to choose? So speaking of books, okay, and options, so you have a couple. I'm going to put it back on so they can see the screen. I'm going to read the titles. So you have First Year I Cried, All These Unopened Notebooks, Second Year I Pushed Through, Mental Unconnections. When I say mental, am I supposed to say un? Because I don't like.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Third Year I Knew Love, Pleasure Me, and then 26. So those are all of your books that are out now, guys, that you can go and check
Yes.
where those are at. So go ahead and tell us about these books, and then we can ask some questions based on that.
So for first year I cried, second year I pushed through, and third year I knew love. Those were kind of the immediate ones that I wrote, you know, in my early 20s. Like this is like when I first started college and university, and I was like living on my own or like living with roommates and like going through so much friendships and breakups and all that kind of stuff. So those books are really a reflection of that. All these unopened notebooks and mental unconnections, I think those were more like my relationships and my first heartbreak. So those are those types of poems that you will see in that. But all in all, like they all reflect, my journey, my friendships, the heartbreak, healing, managing my emotions, life lessons, all of that. And so all of them are like their own testament to a part of my life.
Okay, I love that. Do you have one that you really, I want to say enjoyed, but I know one that you really just like, this is my baby?
I always tell people because they always do ask, like, which one? And I'm like, well, you probably should like try to read like, first year I cried and then second year I pushed through.
Yeah.
But I think second year I pushed through was like my favorite because I think I was about 19 at the time, 19, 20. And I just felt like I was on top of the world. But like there was just so much happening. But it was still my favorite to write, my favorite to go back and still read. Um, so it definitely would be that one.
Okay. And then when you come up with your titles, how do you come up with your titles?
The titles are always the hardest part for me, but I feel like I can start accumulating the poems, and then when I come up with it, I'm just like, this is the one. And it would be so random. Like I could be in the shower, I could be at work, and then I'm like, that's the title. Like I have like, my light bulb moment. And
Yeah.
so most of the times it's like random or like I'm doing something and it kind of just comes to my spirit. So I've been going off of that flow for a while now, but the fear is always, ooh, like I don't know what I'm gonna name this book, but I have like I want to put it in motion, and I feel like I can't start like actually seriously writing it until I get that title down.
Right. Okay. All right. Because we all have different processes but that light bulb moment is something that I'm like, oh my God, I love that. And as a creative person, it's the same thing with shopping for me. Like I love thrifting, and it's like there's an art to thrifting. Just like I think there's art to writing a book and poems and all that.
Right.
It's like when I see the piece, I know it, and I'm like instant. It's not like I'm going to get
You have that
the,
connection, you know.
yes, I know. So, okay, I want you to think of a poem. Like, what is the first poem that comes to the top of like the front of your mind when in regards to you just really loved writing that poem?
um,
I know you have a lot, but
I have a lot. I think from my latest novel, 26,
Mhm.
there was like one basically talking about how I keep pouring, myself into others, and, their cups were overflowing, but mine wasn't. And so
Mhm.
like that kind of life lesson, especially because like, I'm a mom and everything is like I can't always extend myself to others. Like I have to think about myself and I have to think about my child. And so coming to that realization that, a lot of people that I thought were in my corner were kind of just like draining me for the energy I had. I think that's one of the
Whew.
poems I go back to and I read. I'm just like, yeah, like I need to keep this as a daily reminder.
Yes, yes, that does sound like, guys, because oh Lord, see, because if you said something, you're preaching now, Rebecca. You're preaching. But you definitely cannot pour. I tell people that all the time, pour from an empty cup. And especially like for people who are just natural givers and healers, I think you have to set those boundaries or you'll be depleted.
Yeah.
And I'm a teacher. So like I teach middle school. I see like 150 students a day. So I'm constantly pouring in and I literally will have days where I just fast from talking because I'm just like, I have to preserve some of this energy. So
And
I
people don't understand that, people, because I also like I work in customer service. So like, if I spend 8 hours a day talking to people, when I come home, I don't want no one to even say my name. I don't want anyone to look at me. So I get it. You want those days where you just like claim your power back, and it's a lot.
yeah, yeah. I think self preservation is important. It's actually a skill. I think that they need to teach that in schools of how to set boundaries and and I'm not talking about just in elementary school because I think middle school and high school is really where that needs to take place because, you're dealing with friendships, peer pressure and things like that. But yes, when you talk about you pouring into other people's cups and you're looking in your cup and it's empty, where's the
Right.
reciprocity? I
Right.
need my cup as well. And the crazy thing is what I've learned about that is that the people who actually value you and actually care will understand when you tell them that, hey, right now I don't have the bandwidth. They'll understand. But the people who are just, draining you like vampires, oh my God, they're gonna crash out.
Yep.
And guess what? We have to allow them. So
Yep.
yeah, I love that. I love that. And I think, how do you feel about social media? I feel like social media is, first of all, it's a lot there. Okay, let me tell you where I'm going with that. I feel like more people are becoming aware of certain things, and with that, it's a double-edged sword because it's like, if we're talking about boundaries, like what you just said, you might be scrolling and you see a person talking about, hey, pouring, making sure you don't overly pour into somebody else's cup without getting anything back. As a writer, do you feel like social media, how do you feel about social media in regards to, because I feel like now everybody's a writer almost because we have to think about the captions, okay?
Right.
So everybody's kind of expressing themselves on social media. What is your thoughts around that with social media and just people expressing themselves?
I
It's a wide question.
I laugh because like I know like all the podcasts and everyone's like they need to stop selling mics on Amazon, and that I don't know why that popped into my head.
I agree. I agree.
But I feel like it's important to express yourselves, but at the same time I feel like social media is like too big of a playground, and
Mm,
it could be very beneficial
yeah.
to the right people who use it in the right way, but for certain people, the toxicity that I see, I
Mm,
feel like that spreads so fast. And it's
yeah.
like there's it's like a double-edged sword, like,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
think it's a great way to express yourselves, but sometimes I feel like, and maybe that's just like, my upbringing as well. There's a time and place for everything. And I don't think a lot of people realize that.
Yeah, it's definitely, we have people who are giving great advice, but then we also have unhinged people with mics. And the sad part is the kids who don't know how to, and they don't have the parents to kind of, monitor that. They don't know what's real from just hogwashery. And then the people who have mental illnesses that we don't know that they have, you know what I'm saying? Some people are
Right.
naive. Just like you said, it is a big playground, and it's we have to tread like you have to vet these things. Just like when the internet first came out, and first of all, you look like a baby, you look like you're 19. So when you kept saying, "Oh, I'm like, girl, how old are you?" But when the internet first came out, they taught us you have to vet it. Everything, you can't believe everything you read, and it's the same thing with social media. And I think that these kids are just taking it and running with it. But anyway, I'll digress on that rant because I could go forever about that. But I really do love that. And I think that's important about the pouring into other people's cups and realizing that, hey, and it takes self-awareness to sit and realize and to think about, and that's why journaling I think is so great, because if you're journaling about your day or whatever and you're writing about this stuff, sometimes mid-sentence you'll be like, wait a minute, what? Like,
Yep.
realize that, but where are they pouring back into me? And the dangerous part about that, when you have, I feel like, an anointing, or like, your spirit is really big, your personality, because I feel like you have so much energy, people who don't, the little bit you give them could like totally blow it up. But sometimes you don't realize how much you're giving, and it's not coming back to you. So I love that. Do you have, because you have so many books, I'm trying to see how to ask this question, but do you have, I would say, we'll stick to one poem. Do we have a poem that comes to mind that you felt like it was really hard to write? Now, when I say hard to write, it doesn't necessarily have to mean like, it could be any word in the sentence, because that could be a little bit, but do you have one that you felt like it was hard to write, whether it was like emotionally or just like structure wise?
I don't think so. I think the reason why there isn't that one that really stands out, at least not yet, is because I feel like when I'm going through that turmoil in my life, or like, it's like, this is like how I pray. This is how I come to terms with a lot of things. Like, this is me pouring my heart out. This is me saying, like, what is happening in my life? Like, what's happening in this relationship? What's happening in this, circumstance? And it's how I pour my heart out. So I feel like the words come easy, and then it's not until I go back and then I read what I've like written, and sometimes like it'll be years later, especially for a lot of these books, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I was going through that. So I don't think there's like necessarily one. It's just like when I go back and I see the different poems that I've written over the years, I'm just like, I was there, and this is me now, and I've elevated, I've moved on from that, and I'm still fighting, and I'm still like the warrior that I've wanted to be.
Yeah, I love that. When you're writing your book, your books, these are poems, right? So have you ever thought about a poem inspiring an actual like whole book, like based on one? Because I know there's some writers who will base novels or base books based off of a single poem. Have you done that? Have you thought about?
Not really. I know for the works in progress that I do have now, like I definitely do. Because like, it's romance and it's contemporary, so it's like I could totally see it in that aspect. For my poems, no.
Yeah. I think, and I've written poetry, but that's not the genre that I'm like, I write music. I do write music, and I do kind of think that's kind of like poetry a little bit. But yeah, have you done any like, what do they call it? Like, where
Like
you go to like,
songwriting?
well, not that, but like, have you been to like an event where you speak your poems? Like what, spoken poetry, a spoken word?
Like twice.
Okay.
When I like lived in like I guess the university town down here, like twice, but it wasn't, anything major. It was like a nice small crowd, so it was cute. And then like back the day when I thought I could like commit to doing YouTube, like I had originally thought like, I could like perform my poems. So I think there's probably still a video up on one of my accounts, but I was like, I wouldn't mind like, doing my poems in that regard. but
Yeah.
I haven't been to a lot of like, places where I can like actually perform my poems.
Yeah, I think there's so many opportunities. Just being a creative, there's so many, things that you could build upon from that. So when you write your poems, do you write them? We're on the publishing and writing part now. When you
Okay.
sit down and you write your poems, do you oftentimes complete them in one sitting, or does it take like days, weeks, longer?
It really depends on the poem. Sometimes like,
Mhm.
I could be at work and then the inspiration will hit for something and I'll like quickly like note it down in like my phone or something. And it's just like the first 2 or 3 lines. And then I could come back a week later and kind of finish it. Or sometimes like when I'm really like in the mood, like I could finish one. I think it just depends on what's
Yeah,
happening at the moment.
yeah. I feel that. I feel that for sure. So with publishing, okay. Now, did you go the self-publishing route or did you go the traditional publishing route?
I did self-publishing.
Okay.
When I started, like when I was like 18, 19, I
Mhm.
honestly thought that was like the only route that I had. And I was like, oh, like this is fun. Like, I could totally do this. And so I
Yeah.
did. And then from there, I kind of just had the creative control. Like I did my own covers and everything. So I just kept self-publishing. I probably will continue to self-publish. But I
Mhm.
wouldn't mind eventually going to the traditional route if inspiration strikes and I find like the right company.
But yeah, and I heard you have to really do your research and really read those contracts when you get into the traditional
Yep.
publishing world. So do you have a goal as a writer? Like, do you have like an ultimate where you'll feel like this is it? And like some people they want, like for me, okay, I'm talking about me for a second. My goal is to have my book. Do I have it with me? Yes, I do. Matt Justice. I really want this to be turned into a movie by Tyler Perry. Tyler, check your DMs. I talk about Tyler all the time, but I really like a goal for me as a writer is I would love to see that book turned into a movie. Like that would be like an epic goal for me. Do you have like a goal as a writer that you feel like, oh my God, if this happened?
I have my work in progress. One of them is a series that I'm working on and it's like paranormal and it's like, Black paranormal. So I eventually want to finish writing the series. I want it to be successful. I want it to be represented as well as I've seen all the other, Black paranormal books represented. And eventually I would like it to be a TV show.
I love that. And
And
we have to
yeah,
speak things. We have to speak it. We have to have a clear vision. And I think, part of the reason why I created this platform was to start giving that exposure as a stepping stone to, like, of course, the bigger outlets and things like that. Because, we write these books, we do these things, and then it's like we want to tell the world about it.
right.
So you just never know what viewer you might connect with, and then it's a, snowball effect. What do you think is your biggest lesson? So you have 7 books that are already out. So I would say after like the first or second one, what is one mistake like you made maybe the first time? Because self-publishing is a lot of steps that you learn and you was like, oh, I better not do that again because I remember what happened the last time.
Um, Definitely having patience
Yeah.
because it's a lot. It's a lot when you're doing it by yourself as well. Because when I first published, like I was so young and like it was just
Mhm.
me.
Yeah.
Now I feel like it's a bit different because like I've connected with so many different authors and whatnot. So it was definitely having patience
Yeah.
and doing my research because I feel like the first time around I didn't do as much research. Like I hopped on Amazon because like, that was the only outlet that I saw that was really giving me that opportunity. So I like if I could go back in time, I'd be like, there's more options. Like you can
Yeah.
totally go down more avenues.
Yeah, for sure. Research is definitely key, and then patience as well. Oh my gosh, you definitely need patience. And I feel like do you have any other, because I feel like that was kind of advice for authors too. But if you had to give advice to a person who they have a whole notebook full of poems and they're like, you know what, I want to make this into a book. what advice would you give them as far as, I would say, getting over the fear of having like their work out there? Sorry. Like if
I feel
they,
like they would well they would need to have that serious conversation with themselves to know, like, is this something I want to put out into the world? Because I feel like, at least for me, poetry is very personal.
Mhm.
So like that's your truth. That's a part of you. Do you want to share that with the entire world? Like,
Yeah,
so I feel like they would have to come to terms with that. And once they come to terms with that, just start writing it out and do your research to know like what road you want to take, like what you want to do, self-publishing, traditional, like where do you who do you want this to reach? Know your target market kind of
yeah.
thing. So research is a big part of that.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that because when I have, written poetry in the past, that is like, I applaud y'all because that is like the very vulnerable parts of me. So being able to put that out and share it, but at the same time, that helps a lot of people. A lot of people really can connect and relate with that. And so yeah, that's definitely true, is asking yourself, am I okay with because even in, with people who write novels and books, you have to be okay with other people taking that and interpreting it. Because when I teach poetry, really, what's crazy is that a lot of students, they're like, oh my God, poetry, because it's hard for them, because at that age, a lot of them don't have the background knowledge to, relate to and
Right.
that stuff. But so many people can interpret it different ways. Like, oh, well, how does that mean? So you
Exactly.
have,
Yeah.
yeah, you have to be open and vulnerable to share your work with other people. Okay, so I feel like we're at our trivia time. We do have a little trivia question, Rebekah. Okay, so this is Would You Rather Author Edition. So it's just a cute little question about being
Okay.
a writer. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to have you pick a number from 1 to 4.
Okay. I'm gonna pick 4.
Okay, 4. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this is a good one. Okay, so would you rather you're a host, Rebekah, a soulful writing retreat in Bali or Jamaica?
This is so hard.
Bali or
I've never
Jamaica?
been to Bali, but I've been to Jamaica. So like
Yeah, yeah.
I
That's,
feel like I would go with Jamaica just because,
you already know.
that's like back home to me. I
Okay,
feel like
okay.
that's a piece of me. So I would definitely go with Jamaica.
Jamaica. Okay. So you're Jamaican.
My dad is Jamaican,
Okay.
so I'm Jamaican by birthright.
Okay. I love that. I
Yes.
have kids and they're Jamaican too. And yeah, so
Yep.
I love that. Yeah, I probably would have chosen Bali just because I've never been there. I've been to obviously to Jamaica several times. But yeah, Jamaica is really, really nice. I really love Jamaica. I really do. So you kind of told us what was next, which is your romance novel. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? Just a little.
So
You don't have to.
speaking of vulnerability and everything, I actually really like it's like my baby. So I decided to, this was the book that stuck, and it's gonna be my debut romance novel. I'm really excited for it. It's called The Safe Level, and basically it's about two people falling in love and then choosing to stay despite, all the emotions and all the hardships. So I'm currently writing that now. And I also have my paranormal series that I'm working on. Hopefully, that is the next big project after the safe level.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. Well, keep going. Okay. We're definitely rooting for you here. Okay, at Jazz and Prose, guys, definitely support Rebekah Christie. And then for the people who want to go and purchase these books right now, where can they find your books?
You can find all of these books on Amazon, and I know Kindle through Kindle Unlimited. Some of them might actually be free with the subscription, so they're all on Amazon, and some of them might actually be on like iBooks as well.
Okay, that's so lovely. I love that. Well, guys, definitely check out these books by Rebekah Christie. She also has two other work in progress books that are coming up. Okay. Rebekah, we thank you for giving us a little bit of your time and stopping by Just the Crows. Yeah. And then also if they want to follow you, like do you have a social media where they can keep up with you?
Yes, so I'm pretty sure like all of the social medias, I'm available on all. I've recently also joined Substack because I know like that's more like for authors. So I've been trying to keep up with it and share like tad bits of behind the scenes and everything. But you can mainly find me on IG and Facebook.
Okay, we love that. Well, guys, definitely go and follow Rebekah Christie. Check out her books on Amazon. And we thank you once again for stopping by. And then, guys, we thank you for tuning in to this another episode of Author Interviews. And we will see you guys in the next video. Bye.